In today's episode, we continue with our interview with Dr. Bryce Pritchett. Today, he shares with us what he would tell his grandkids if he only had 90 seconds to leave everything that he's learned in his lifetime to them.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
You have an opportunity to go in and see so many of the top boards in the world, and you're there to give them advice and impart upon them your knowledge. But I'm sure somewhere along the way, you've received some great knowledge from them. What's some of the best advice you've been given?
You know, it's kind of interesting because our clients are our teachers. I mean, it's just fascinating work. You know, I can remember going into Upjohn back before they went through a merger, and they're part of some other chemical company now, or pharmaceutical company. But we would go into all these different industries, and you learn so much. Here's a company making vitamins and supplements and everything. Here's another one that's making these massive printing presses that they print the New York Times and Wall Street Journal on. And then you go into a company like Playboy or a healthcare company. And so all of our clients are our teachers. And so there's always that. If I go further back, the first book I ever ran across about personal development or success, or, call it what you want to, that sector or that genre of writing, my father-in-law handed me a book, and this was about 1964 or 65, and it was Napoleon Hill's book, The Master Key to Riches. And I read that before I went back and read the first one he wrote, which is Think and Grow Rich, I guess, the first one that really, really scored. Yeah. And I was absolutely blown away by the book. Now, this was before I started my PhD in psychology. And so, but I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. And so I went into the PhD program in psychology at Texas Tech, and it was there was this peculiar thing that happened because I realized that all of these professors in the psychology department were so cynical about these success books. I mean, they were just very disparaging about these. They just laughed at them because they said, they make all these outrageous claims. And, well, that's not scientific and so forth. And I thought, well, there's some truth in that. They do perhaps exaggerate on some things. But you guys here in the psych department are so arrogant, and you act like that someone who needs help has to turn to someone like you. They can't go to a book and get something really worthy out of it, something really serviceable. And so I kept watching this, so here you got the professional psychology community bad-mouthing the success gurus, and the success gurus totally ignoring the psychological community pretty much, and there's too much hyperbole. There was some exaggeration. I don't care if a book tells me I can do anything I want to in the world. I know better. I am not going to play center for Cleveland in basketball. It's not going to happen. Now, I might weasel my way into some exhibition game sometime if I knew the right person and they let me get out on the floor just for a few seconds, just on a whim, But so anyway, I decided I was going to kind of go straight down the middle on this thing. And I did my dissertation on personal achievement and self-directed change. And I researched a couple of those early programs that had been developed on, in this whole area of success and personal achievement, self-improvement. And so I'm a realist, I think. I'm very much an optimist, I would tell you that unequivocally. But I think I'm very much a realist about human behavior. And I know how we are as individuals. And I've spent 4 decades watching us work and interact collectively in organizations. And so, as I said a while ago, that's kind of where I come from. And that's, out of kind of how all of my experiences have come together is where the U Squared handbook came from. with its very, very spare thing. It's here's the thing. I think when people set out, start setting goals for themselves, they bog down in tactics at the
Yes.
expense of strategy.
Yes.
And so the quantum leap strategy says, look, I'm going to give you 4 things. They are so simple. If you will do these 4 things, you're going to change your life. Okay? But people always want to overcomplicate it, it seems.
Yeah, they want it more difficult. It can't be that simple.
Yeah, and I think part of it is maybe it's part of avoiding having to really get with the program.
It takes work. It takes
yeah,
work. And it takes consistent work.
yeah.
It's
Anyway.
the little things that are done. Well, I know we're getting to the end, and I just want to ask one more question, then I want to hear how the listeners can get in touch with you. If you had 90 seconds to impart some wisdom to your children, grandchildren, or just some random young man or young woman on the street, what would you tell them in 90 seconds?
I would say, that's a good question. I would say play to your strengths. Find out for yourself those things that you absolutely love doing, the things that energize you, the things that just light you up, and you seem to learn fast in that area and you enjoy learning in that area. Okay? I would say play to your strengths. And the second thing I think I would say is be fearless. Be fearless. I look back over my life, and if I could go back and if I was a teenager or in my early 20s, I would say be more fearless, Price. Be willing to fail, because that's how you learn the quickest. Be a mover. Be out there. Be doing. Be stretching. Be reaching. Everybody. Here's the interesting thing. Everybody has made quantum leaps. I know this unequivocally. It's a quantum leap when you, as a very, very small toddler, actually, you're a crawler. When you go from crawling to walking, you've made a quantum leap. You can't crawl fast enough to come up off all fours and be walking, okay? So that was a quantum leap you made so early in life. Why? Because you were kind of fearless and you were willing to fail. And you failed and you failed and you failed, and son of a gun, you're walking, okay? You did it again when you were in the water and you went from wading to swimming. You cannot wade fast enough that all of a sudden you're swimming. You can't. It doesn't work. The physics won't work. You have to totally change. You have to quit doing what was working real well as a wader and start doing something else entirely to swim. And you failed. You got strangled. You choked. And it wasn't much fun, but you wanted to swim bad enough that you did it. And everybody still has the potential for quantum leaps. But there are those dynamics you've got to live with. It's so simple. That kid that was crawling on the floor was desperate to walk because everybody else was walking, okay? That kid that's just wading along is so jealous of those kids that can swim. But it's passion driven. It's passion driven. And that needs to be at the core of that aiming point for a quantum leap.
And as adults, become passionate about and just unrelenting to get what you want. And if you fail, you fail.
Yeah.
So what?
I read this quote the other day. I think it's so good. This has probably been heard by a lot of people. I hadn't seen it before, but this is by a guy named Frank Wilczek, I guess it is, and he won a Nobel Prize in 2004. But here's the quote. If you don't make mistakes, you're not working on hard enough problems. And that's a big mistake. Isn't that good?
I love that. I love it.
If you don't make mistakes, you're not working on hard enough problems, and that's a big mistake. So
I love it. Well, what a great way to end the interview. Please share with us how the audience can get in touch with you.
Okay, our mothership is in Dallas, and the website would just be www.pritchett, PRITCHETTNET, that's one word, PRITCHETTNET.com. That's our website. We've got another website where most of our merger integration material is located. It's just mergerintegration.com. But our phone is 214-239-9600.
And I know that you also had a special gift for the listeners today.
Yeah, we talked about this, and
I'm excited about this one.
Well, what it said was if anybody wanted a free copy of the U-Squared Handbook, if they will just email us and say that that they heard Thor and Price on this podcast and they would like to see this crazy book that we're talking about, just email us and we'd be happy to send one to them.
Oh, that is unbelievable. Thank you.
And I want to prepare people for what they're going to find. This book is 38 pages long, and there is a lot of white space, but this book has a cult following around the world. It really does. We get orders from Nairobi, from Honeywell, from Stanford University, from Health and Human Services. I mean, we get orders from all kinds of organizations, from individuals, and from just all corners of the globe. It's really kind of interesting to watch. Anyway, and be happy to share one copy with anybody that reaches out and asks for it.
Well, that's terrific. And I have a couple other requests on top of that. One, when you get it, you read it. After you read it, you implement it. After you implement it, you pass it along to somebody else so they can learn from it. And you email Price and email myself, whether it's a year from now, 5 years from now, and tell us how it's changed your life. That's my request. Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know we went way over the allotted time that we were going to. We could have gone on all afternoon. Thank you for
we could
this.
Get dangerous talking together.
Well, I know they're going to want you back on at some point. I know your travel schedule is very hectic. Thank you for sharing these wonderful things this afternoon, and I look forward to getting my copy.
Okay, great. Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you, Thor.
Thank you very much. That concludes our interview with Dr. Price Pritchett. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already done so, please head over to iTunes. Subscribe to the show, download the episodes. After listening to the episodes, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. Also, please share these episodes with family, friends, coworkers, or anyone that could benefit from this information. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. The email is info@thorconklin.com. While at the website, please sign up for our free weekly newsletter with additional tricks, tips, tools, strategies, and psychology on how to be a peak performer. These episodes are designed to be between 6 minutes and 35 minutes, so please listen to them during dot time, doing other things, driving, commuting, walking, working out, or anything that you can do 2 things at once. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do, and until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.